the first thing I want to do is to explain to you how you, as the customer of the program, will access the materials and be able to give access to the materials to your parents and students. So we're going to walk through how that happens. And then the second thing we're going to do is walk through what a parent would do in order to get fulfill the instructions that you give them to get the digital access. So what we're going to do is Dave is going to act as the customer. So he's going to act as the DRE at St. Athanasius. And Dave is going to, he read the digital guide, which we're going to show you in a second. But all of you who received an email and therefore were invited to this meeting, you are registered with us. So we have your email address. And we're going to go through the process for you and then for those who we do not have the email address for. So hopefully you're all familiar with this site, which is the Gospel Weeklies website. This is where all the resources are for parents, for teachers and catechists, for the directors, everyone. The first thing I want you to notice is, Dave, if you click on Browse and go down to the Program Directors section, everything that we're going to cover here today is also in print at the on the Program Directors page under the Digital Edition Guide. And you see it right there, and Dave will open it up, and we will see what the digital edition guide looks like. It's not very long, but the first 2 pages after the cover here are basically the instructions that I am going to go over first, which tell you how to get into the account, how to see the digital copies that you've purchased. And the second page, there are 2 ways that you can share that information with parents. And then we've given you 2 sample letters. Depending on which way you choose to share it with parents, there's a sample letter for the first method and a sample letter for the second method. And then finally, I've done a little frequently asked questions page, some FAQs, which I will refer to as we are going through the instruction here today. So the digital guide is available at all times. You can go to it at any time. We have also posted a video of some of what I'm about to go through today has already been posted to our YouTube channel. And you'll notice the YouTube logo at the top there in red, the little red dot, will take you to the YouTube channel. And we are going to also post today's webinar so that you will be able to see it again if you need to. So you, as the person who has purchased the material, you're the customer, let's put it that way. And what we are asking you to do is to come to this page. Just go to gospelweeklies.com or pflaumweeklies.com. Both of those addresses work, Pflaum Weeklies or gospelweeklies.com. This is the only address, by the way, that we are going to use for anyone. So whether it's for you or for the parents, we're only sending people to this page. The reason for that is because we can give you access to the digital editions from this page, but we can also give you and the parents access to all of the resources that are on the website by coming to this page. And you'll see some of those later when we come back here from the digital materials. So the first thing I want you to notice is next to the YouTube little red dot at the top, there's a green one, and the green one is access the digital editions. So the first thing you're going to do is click on the green button, and it will take you to this page. This is called a portal, and this portal is where you will be able to access the digital editions. Now, you'll notice that you've never been to this portal before. So your first inclination may be, can't make that stay at 90%, Dave? Okay, that's good. Your first inclination when you come here is to create a new account, because that's what you usually do when you go to a website, but you do not have to do that. Since we have your email address, we have already registered you, you have an account, and you have a password. So Dave, if you enter your email address, or not your email address, the test email address that we have for this account, all of you will use the same password, and that is capital PGW. All three of those letters are capitalized. So PGW, uppercase, 2021. That is the password for all of the parishes and schools who are registered on our website because we have your email addresses. That is not going to be the password for parents. We'll get into that later, but it is the password for all of you. And once you have entered your email address and your password, so the email address that we have for you, which is the one that we sent the e-blast to about inviting you to this meeting, this is the page you will go to. I hope you'll notice the top of the page, you'll see it says My Subscriptions. That's the tab that you are on this portal right now. And you'll notice in the center of the screen, there are 4 publications that this customer has subscribed to. And we use the term subscription on this website, even though we don't normally call the weeklies a subscription. But since we fulfill them like one, it's just terminology that we use on this website. You'll notice under the term publication, there's a Good News Bilingual, there's a Promise order, and then there are 2 venture orders. Now, you may ask, why are there 2 venture orders? Some customers do divide their orders into, say, 4th grade and 5th grade. So one of the venture orders is perhaps going to the 4th grade catechist or 4th grade teacher in a school. The second one may be going to the 5th or 6th grade teacher or catechist in the parish or the school. But whatever you have purchased will be listed here when you sign in. So if you are purchasing all 5 levels, seeds through visions, you will see 5 of them. If you're purchasing all 5 English and all 5 bilingual, you'll see 10 of them here. And again, if you've divided your order in any way into different classes, like these 2 ventures, you'll see all of those. So you'll see multiples of all of those. So this basically is the confirmation that this is your order. You'll notice that if you go over to the right, that this particular order is for 5 copies of each of the editions. If you've ordered 10, 12, 26, 149, whatever your number is, that will show up under the copies. In order for you to be able to give access to your parents and the children, you need to assign them digital rights. And so the last column where it says digital rights, and I know that's a strange term, we don't normally use that for anything else, but in the world here of technology, that's what we're going to use. So if you click on that, Dave, digital rights, this is what you're going to see. Now I have a few comments here before we go any further. Because there are 2 ways that you can assign digital rights. But before we get into that, I want you to notice that this customer has 5 copies listed. So you can see there are 5 lines. If there were, 25 or 150, this page would be filled, but then there would be a page 2 and a page 3 and a page 4 where you would be able to list all of the students who you want to give digital rights to. But the first thing I want you to notice is that the first copy is already been assigned, and that's been assigned to you. When you go in here, hopefully you'll do this after the meeting and sign in, you will see that your email address is in the first position for every one of the editions that you have purchased. If you purchased a copy for yourself, then that's fine. In this case, if you purchased a copy for yourself, the first copy is being used. You can now assign 4 more copies. However, if you did not purchase a copy for yourself, if you need 5 copies for 5 students, the first thing you should do is hit the red X that says clear. And if you hit the red X that says clear, that line will disappear. You can do that. You can do that, Dave. If you clear it, now you're able to assign this to 5 different students. Now, if you do want a copy for yourself, but you haven't purchased it, or if you want a copy for a catechist or for a teacher, then you need to call your sales rep and adjust your order. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. But just remember that if you have 5 copies or 15 copies, whatever it is, if you need that for that many students, remember that if you don't clear yourself, you're not going to be able to assign it to as many students as you want to assign it to, because you're going to be one short because one copy has been assigned to you. Now, there are 2 methods, as I said, where you can assign digital rights. I want to show you the very simplest one first. And if you'll notice here at the top, redemption code, the word redemption code, and there's a long number in there. If you give this redemption code to parents, every parent who uses it, who comes to our portal here and redeems that code, will be given access to, in this case, this is Good News Bilingual that we're looking at. So everyone that you give this code to, when they go to the site, and we're going to try this, you'll see it happen, they will redeem this code, and then their email address will show up on this list. So let's just try it once. So Dave is copying it to the clipboard. And then Dave, if you go to open a new tab for the Gospel Weekly site, don't go to the old one, open a new one. No, you want to go to Gospel Weeklies, not Pflaum. Okay, Dave's going there a different way, but it's okay. He's getting there. So we come back to the site, and now make that a little bit, there you go. Now we're back to the portal page. This looks exactly like it did when you clicked on the green button. However, Dave is a parent, and Dave is going to enter in his email address as a parent here. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Dave, you're going to actually have to create an account. You're going to have to create an account because we do not have your email address. So if you just scroll down to create an account, you need to create an account. And if you'll notice, the only thing that, Dave, I don't think you can use that one. I think you already used that email address. I think you have to use a different one. All we're asking the parent to do is list an email address, whatever password they want. They can create any password they like. It is not PGW 2021. It is whatever they want it to be. And then a security question. And the security question is there so that if they forget their password, or if they want to change their password later on, they will be able to do so. So Dave is creating an account as a new parent who's been coming to the portal for the first time. So, okay, now what I'd like you to notice right now is in the center of the screen, it says, you have no items in your library. If you look at the top of the page again, you'll notice it says my library. It does not say my subscriptions because the parent is not the owner of the subscription. You are. Your parish or school is the owner of the subscription. So what the parent sees is my library. And the only thing they'll see in their library is what they have been given access to. So at first it says you have no items in your library, and there are 2 things you can do. Either you can redeem a code by clicking on this button, or you can contact your parish or school to verify your access. That's the second method, and I'll show you that in a little while. But you can see that Dave has clicked on the little button, and he's going to put in the access code, the redemption code that he was given because we emailed it to him as good stewards of the subscription of the order. And you're going to click the check mark, Dave. And you see that now in Dave's library is Good News Bilingual. We're going to go through the actual material in a little while, but I just want you to show right now how Dave would have gotten access to this as a parent. So as a parent, he's in the he has a child in the 2nd grade. It's a bilingual program. And so he was given the redemption code by you. You gave him the redemption code through an email, through a letter you sent home with the child, however you choose to do it. And as I said, the digital guide does have examples, samples of letters that you can send home. And there's a sample there that says, use this code. So Dave came, he created an account as a parent, and he clicked on the little gift box. I call it the gift box because it looks like a little box with a bow on top. He clicked on the gift box, and he was given access to Good News Bilingual because that was the edition that the code was attached to. Now let's go back to the page where we are the customer and we're assigning digital rights. And let's get out. You need to close this one, Dave. This is the Good News Bilingual. Let's take a look at the promise. So if you click on promise, again, you have the option of giving the parent another code. If a parent has more than one child, you will have to give them more than one code because each code is tied to an edition. So the code we gave Dave before was to Good News Bilingual. The code we're looking at right now is to Promise English. Now we could give this to Dave, or what we could do is we could make him a member of this class, let's call it a class, by entering his information. So if you just do that, Dave, once he does this, we're going to save this. Okay, and then once we've saved this, Dave, we can go back to your page as a parent and refresh this page. And now you notice that the library contains two things. He has Good News Bilingual and he has Promise English. So we have given Dave access to two editions in two different methods. The first method was giving him a code. He redeemed the code. The second method was we entered his email address onto our class list, let's call it. And when he came back to his page, he now has access to both of the editions for Good News and Promise. Let's go back to the fulfillment page 1 second, Dave, here. So let me explain the second method. What we just did was we entered Dave's email address, his name and his first name and his last name. We could fill this up with the other three students, whoever we want to give this to, okay? And those people would have access. We could also, in many cases, you're going to have more than 5. So one way to do this is to import a file. And by importing a file, instead of filling it out right here, which you can do, you could just fill this whole thing out online, but you could also import a file. And Dave, if you go down to the lower left-hand corner to the import, you'll notice that you can download a template. If you download the template, you're going to get an Excel file, and the Excel file only asks you for 3 things. It asks you for the email address, the first name, and the last name. So the same information that Dave was just entering directly onto the portal, you could do it this way because you may already have files for your classes. And if you do, it might make it a lot easier for you to register everybody by just taking it from a file that you already have. If you fill out this form for however many copies you get, whether it's 5 or 100, 149 or whatever number of kids that you have in whichever grade level this is, if you have 149 in Promise, that's a lot of little ones. So God bless you. But you can fill this out, save it to your computer, save it someplace where you're not going to lose it. Okay. And once you have saved it, you will be able to then, yeah, why don't you do that, Dave? What you'll be able to do is come back to the portal and choose a file. And you'll hit browse there, Dave, and then there you go. And then find the one that you were looking for, Dave, wherever you saved it.
That might be a problem. Like, I can't remember that.
Okay, well, then we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about it. But once you import, then if you click on import file, when you import the file, it will fill out all of these fields for you. You'll notice it says import file at the bottom there in the right. And once you've chosen the file that you saved, hit import file, it will fill this out for you. And you will now have given access to all of those kids. Now, in this case, if you choose to do it this way, what you then do is, and again, there's a different sample letter, and the sample letter basically says to parents, go to the Gospel Weekly site, click on the green button, create an account, And when the parent creates the account, because you have already registered them here, they will have access to all of the additions that you gave them. So in this case, if we only listed Promise for this one family, when they went and created an account, their library is going to show them Promise. But if they have 3 children, Promise, Venture, Visions, let's say, if you've entered their email address in your Promise, your Venture, and your Visions orders, they will now see all 3 when they come to their library. So there are 2, as I say, there are 2 ways you can do it, whichever way you're more comfortable doing it. Using the code is a faster way because you can just copy the code, give it to each of the parents, and tell them to use that code. But if you would like to actually register them all yourselves here, that's fine too. And the only difference is that when you are filling out this form, you will have their first name and last name. If they use a redemption code, the only thing that is captured is the email address. And so if you want to then go back later and you'll see this list of email addresses, you would then have to put in the child's first name and last name. While we're here, though, I do want to make mention of one other thing, and that's the column on the right that says last use. This is a column that will be useful to you as the year goes on if you'd like to know whether or not parents are using the digital edition with their children. So today, obviously, is the 11th, and yesterday we created this account. And so the last use was yesterday, 11/10. We did not click on anything, so it still says 11/10. Dave has not used anything yet. We've just put it into his library. But as the year goes on, if you want to see whether or not people are using it, and if you come back here and it still says 11/10 and it's March, then you know that these people have registered, but they have not gone back to the site since November. Okay. Remember, you can only give access, whether it's by code or by listing them here. You can only give access to the number that you have purchased. So the number of copies that you have ordered, which will be here, in this case, it's 5. That is the maximum number you can give anybody to use. So you can only give it to 5 people, 4 if you're keeping 1 copy for yourself. Okay, so as far as your part as the administrator of these copies, what your responsibility is to come here, click on digital rights, and decide, do you want to fill this form out or do you want to send the code? In either case, whichever decision you've made, then you simply have to communicate to the parents what are the instructions. And again, in the digital guide, if you're using the code, there's a sample letter that says, here's what to tell people if you're going to give them the digital code. There's also a sample letter that is for the people who you've actually registered them online. The way the website, the portal works is by email address. And that's why your email address is already got an account. You already have an account because we have your email address. If you were to put anybody's email address onto this page and save it, then you would have registered their account, and therefore we would be able to recognize them when they came and created the account for themselves. So your part would be done at this point in terms of getting everything ready. You've assigned digital rights one way or the other, and now it's the parent's responsibility to come to the site, create an account, and then be able to use the material with their children. So let's go back to the page that parents will see, Dave. In this case, this is our parent example. It's Dave, and he has 2 editions. He has Good News Bilingual, and he has Promise English. And you'll notice it says Unit 1. If you go to select an issue at the bottom, you'll notice that there is also Unit 2 because we've gotten to November. And in November, we've used the first 8 lessons. We're now starting the second 8 lessons. So you would choose which one you want. If you want to see Unit 1 still, you would click on Unit 1. If you want Unit 2, you would click on Unit 2. You can see Dave's chosen Unit 2. So this is Unit 2 of Promise. This is the lessons from November 14th, this coming Sunday. You may have already had your class this week, or you may be having your class in the next few days through January 9th. I want to show you how what the parent sees or what the child sees when they're doing this, and hopefully they're doing it together. And also mention to you a few improvements that we've made from last year if you were using this last year. The first thing you'll notice is the gold seal that says what the church believes and teaches is included. On the bilingual one, it says Mi Fe Católica. Those are the catechism handbooks. And prior to this year, you had the lessons were one file and the catechism handbooks were a second file. What we've done this year is we've combined those. So they're together. The first things you're going to see when we go to the table of contents are going to be the first 8 lessons, and then you're going to see what the church believes and teaches. And you can see where Dave opened it up. The table of contents, is the top icon on the left. And all you do, the customer, the parent, the child, you just use the arrows to go back and forth. As you go down the list in the table, as it turns yellow, that means that's an active connection. And when you click on any one of those, it will take you to the page. Now, we're already at November 14th, which is page 3. We're already there. This is the first lesson for this week. The second improvement that we've made are those 2 red buttons right there. We've tried to make it easier for the parents to get to the resources that are available to them. So the first one, and you can click on that, Dave, the first one is for the parent teaching pages. If they click on that in the table of contents for the entire time, it will take them to this page. And you'll notice we have all the parent teaching pages available, both in English and in Spanish. Unit 1 is there, Unit 2 is there. As the year goes on, Unit 3 and Unit 4 will be there. And the parent teaching pages, if you're not familiar with them, they look very much like the teaching guides. They're a home lesson plan. I don't like to call it a lesson plan because they're a family, but it is a shorter lesson plan, easy to use by parents. You could click on it, Dave, so we could just see what one of them looks like. So parents have access to these pages at all times. There are only 2 pages. It gives them a little background. This one actually is a little bit longer because the story is written in here in Promise. That whole story is referred to. It's not written in the material. And then simply the activities for the parent to go through when they're working through this lesson with their child. And you can see it says, here's the activity on page 2, 3, an activity on page 4, etc. Reading the gospel together. It's a very simple way to do this as a family, to do this at home. So we can get out of that, Dave. The second red button is for the lesson assessments. And the assessments, we know a lot of you are using this and you're having your students take these. But rather than have to leave the portal where the digital lessons are and then go to the weeklies, we have that button there now so that it can take you directly to the assessment pages. You can see each week is there, the units are available there, etc. So the student can come here, they can take the assessment and send it off to their catechist to let them know how they did. While they're here, if you look at the browse button there for a second, Dave, one of the things we're hoping is that when parents come here through either of those buttons, either the assessment or the parent teaching pages, that they will explore a little bit and click on the resources for families. Resources for families is a very, very rich part of the website with a lot of resources. We've got the parent teaching pages as you saw. We've got a little how to get started. The Gospel at Home is a very useful tool. It's only a single page for each lesson. It helps to reinforce whatever has been done in class at home. Weekly videos. We post weekly videos. Some of your catechists may be using these, but we post weekly videos for the lessons that they can also use at home. The parents can use with their kids. Obviously, the assessments. We've got a word of the week. There's a review. The handout for families explains the program. So there are a lot of resources here for parents, and we're hoping that if the parents are using the digital edition and they click on either of those two buttons, which will take them here to the website where the parent materials are, that they'll spend a little time, as a lot of people do on websites, exploring and clicking around and seeing what things are available. And they may find some things that they didn't even know were there, or they never took the time to look, but they are there, and they're useful for parents to be able to enrich the program with their child. So let's go back to the promise there for a second, Dave. And there's one other improvement that we've made this year that I want to point out, and that is the fact that, as I said before, what the church believes and teaches is part of this file. So when you get to the part of the lesson that what the church believes and teaches is taught, and you'll notice where Dave is showing it, the cover of the book is always shown there, and it'll say go to page, and in this case it's go to page 28. We've linked page 28 to the chapter. So when you're doing this lesson with a child, when you get to that point, all the parent needs to do is click on the page number. It will take them directly to the page in the WCBT. What the church believes and teaches, we call it WCBT because it's shorthand for us. It'll take you to the page in the Catechism Handbook, and you're able to use it. You can print it. You can print this out. And then if you go back to the table of contents page, then you would scroll up and get yourself back to the page that you just left. So the first lesson that we were using was the 14th. And actually, this was the last thing on the last page. But you would scroll back and get yourself back to where you were. So the parent and the child are able to do the four, in the case of promise, 4 pages. Obviously, in venture and visions, you're aware there's 8 pages, but you can use the 4 pages in promise, and then you also can use the page in the WCBT by clicking on that page number. It'll take you directly there, and you'll be able to use the page to complete the lesson. Now, a couple of things that you might want to know so that if parents ask you these questions, you know the answer. And that is, well, what if I do have more than one child and I want them to be doing this at the same time? Well, the answer to that is they can do that so long as they have more than one computer. If you've got one computer, obviously, if you open Promise, you can't have 2 people doing the same thing at the same time. But if you're working with, let's say you're working with a first grader, you're a parent working with your first grader in Promise, and your 6th grader wants to do their venture lesson, or you want them to do their venture lesson at the same time, if they have another computer, they can sign in the same way that the parent did. They can go to the Gospel Weeklies, click on the green button. It'll take them to the portal. They put in the email address and the password that their parent has created, and they can be doing venture on their computer while the parent is doing promise with the younger child on the first computer. Sorry. So if you have multiple children, you will see multiples, just as in this case, you will see multiple editions in your library. There is the possibility, however, that a parent has given you a different email address for each child. Probably that's not the case, but it's possible that when they registered their children, maybe they did give you multiple email addresses. If they did do that, then they should use each of those email addresses separately. So they should create an account for the Good News child, create an account for the Promise child, create an account for the Venture child if they've given you multiple email addresses. I would guess that in most cases, parents have given you one email address to contact them with, and that email address will be the one that you use for all the levels. And therefore, whether you're giving them the codes or whether you're putting their email address onto the individual class lists, they will see all of the things that they have been given access to all in one place here on their library. So that is how a parent would use the website. And they would be able to, if you, for example, if I was to give this parent another code right now, you'll notice the little gift box is still up there. and they could click on that and put in another code, and they would, go to venture or whatever it is. So they definitely can be given additional material. If for some reason, maybe they register a child late. Um, if you do get children who register late still, and I know it's a little late in the year, but in a lot of places people are still registering late. Um, you can add them again by contacting your Pflaum sales representative. They'd be happy to help you with that. If you have a child leave, you can also remove them from your class list. So, Dave, if you went back to the parent, the family, not the family, I'm sorry, the teacher, that's right, that one right there. Let's say that the person in our third, oh, Dave, you keep hitting the wrong stuff. We're getting, there you go. I know that happens to me all the time. You move your cursor, and the next thing you know, all the news pops up from something. But in this case, um, you would be able to for example, in the third position, say that child, Danny Ray, has moved. He's no longer here, so you can just clear him. Hit the red X, clear him, and you could then enter a different child if you have a different child who has, entered in that child's place. Or, for example, let's say you've given access to 5, and only 4 have registered, and the 5th child has never registered, and you want to use it for somebody else. That would be fine. You can enter somebody else's name if that 5th one has decided they don't want to use the digital, or they never have. So you have control here. Even if you have given them, even if you have given them the codes, you have control here. Do we have any questions in the chat? I'm not sure. Jen, you could tell me if anybody has a question by typing something there. I haven't seen any yet. Okay, if we don't have any questions, then I'm hoping this was clear. If you do have additional questions, let's see. I'm guessing in bilingual access parent materials are in Spanish. Actually, yes, they are. In the bilingual materials, when you click on, for example, we gave Dave access to the, I'm sorry, we gave him Good News bilingual. The material that you have there is bilingual, number one. You can click on either one of those, Dave, and you'll see the bilingual material is loaded here. You can just flip a little bit, and you'll see that you'll notice first it's in Spanish. Keep going a little bit, Dave, just a little bit. And then you'll see the second lesson. It's the same lesson, but now it's in English. And then the same thing will happen. It'll be English, Spanish, English, Spanish. The WCBT is bilingual. And when you click on the resources for parents, if you notice, when we took you to the page for the parent teaching pages, one column was English, one column was Spanish. So yes, the material for the parents is available in English or in Spanish. Okay. If you have any questions after this, if you would contact one of your Pflaum sales reps. And I would like to point out, just since we're here, Dave, if you would go over at the Pflaum Weekly website, next to all of those little dots at the top, where we got the YouTube and the digital access, you'll notice this little three lines. They call it a hamburger because there's 3 lines there. If you click on Contact Us, there's a section right here where you can find out who your sales rep is if you don't know. So if you just click on where it says sales representative and enter your diocese, in this case, Albany, New York, when we submit it, there's Dave and there's Don Wolf, our inside sales rep. You can see their phone numbers are there, their email addresses, Don's extension is there. So you would be able to contact your sales rep if you have questions. If you want to add any copies to your order, as I said, if you would like to get an extra copy on there for your catechist or your teacher, because if you only ordered enough for your students, you'll need another one if you want them to have digital access. and we'll be able to answer any other questions that you have. We don't believe that we're going to have as many difficulties with the once you have given access to parents, because the signing in with either the class list, you doing the class list or using the code, it allows them to simply create an account and follow the instructions. They're able to change their password. They're able to recover their password if they lose it. So everyone is able to everyone will be able to monitor and to administer their own account without any they won't have to contact us to do anything like change their password or anything like that. They just click on forgot password, and they will follow the instructions, and they'll be able to change their password. You, by the way, will be able to do the same thing if you want to. If you don't want to keep your password as PGW all caps 2021, you could just click on forgot my password, and you would follow the instructions, and you could reset your password to whatever you want it to be. But that's your choice. If you change it, it'll change it in our system, so we will recognize it. But if you want to leave it at PGW 2021, that's fine. That's up to you. The only people who are recognized in the system with PGW 2021 are those of you who are in our system as the purchaser of the material. So it would not be anybody can't come to the website, use PGW 2021, and it gives them access to your account. It does not. Okay. The only people who are registered with that password are you, the DRE, the school principal, whoever has placed the order, the individual teacher or catechist, whoever has placed the order. You're registered as the person who owns those subscriptions. So you're the only person who can administer them. You're the only person who can give the code out, and you're the only person who can upload a class list. So if you'd like to keep it at that password, that's fine. If that's easy for you to remember, that'll be wonderful. If you do want to change it, feel free. Many people like to have, something that they use all the time as their password. That's fine. You can do whatever you like. If you do try to change it, by the way, though, when you try to change it, the security question actually is written out there. Your password is PGW 2021, and that's what you put in as the security question answer, PGW 2021, and then it allows you to change your password. So we've tried to make it as easy as possible for you, because you didn't create an account, you didn't put in a security question the way the parents did. So we've basically made your security question your existing password, which is PGW 2021. So thank you all for being here. I don't see any other questions. So we appreciate your attendance. We hope that everyone enjoys using this, both in print and digitally. And if you do need additional copies, please contact your sales reps. 800-543-4383 is our 800 number. And if you go to gospelweeklies.com, you can find everybody's extension and everyone's email addresses. And if you have additional questions, please contact all of them, and every one of them is going to be an expert by the time we're done with this, and be able to answer all the questions for you. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you.